This is a continuation of the past video, and this video talks about how the anger triggers. It is this anger, without understanding its magnanimity, without understanding its complex nature, we cannot go into the details. We have to always see the past history of its life, the anger's life. Man, since several years, he has been subject to torture. He has been this. Today, the modern man is like this because the past man suffered like anything. He perceived threat during his journey, and he went in a trauma, in a situation where he could not find the solutions. At such junctures, in search of food, in search of protection, in search of, to develop his progeny, all these things, he suffered. That suffering made changes during his lifestyle, during his journey. It is this journey which we cannot blame today, because he has been wondering, he has been seeing different changes. Every time he is developing. Because of his past track, he is now in this position. Suppose if that track record is not there, how can the race will develop? We must be thankful to his journey, but we have to understand what changes made him to become angry. See, for example, when threat is perceived by many means, especially it is a protective mechanism. Every fauna, flora, every plant, animal exhibits it to protect its race, to protect the individual. Because without protection, how come that race lives? How come that race perpetuates? So, in this protective mechanism, what happens? Either he has to fight or he has to flight. He has to surrender or he has to fight. Only two alternatives are there. When he surrenders, that is a flight mechanism. That is a submission. That is also a useful thing for prevailing peace. Without surrender, we cannot guarantee his survival. If he wants to survive, he has to surrender. Then he can ponder over the things. He can understand the mistakes where he did it. This is how in the protective mechanism, it's a protective philosophy. You take any animal or any plant, without this protective mechanism, no animal, no plant survives in this nature. It is the natural phenomena. Anger is not something different. It is not harmful. It is useful. At the same time, we have to understand it totally. Then only we can continue. For example, attack is there. When attack takes place, it is a protective mechanism to survive. anger is generated. It's a perceived threat when he feels, when she feels, when that individual feels. Naturally, that protective mechanism protects the individual. It is this attack which has direct link with the hormones. All of you know that two things are more important in any living being. One is the genetics. The second one is the hormones. They are not seen, but they have bigger role. They influence in such a manner that we are bound to obey. We are bound to surrender to that. From inside, we are slaves to our genetics. We are slave to our hormonal actions. It is this hormone which is called adrenaline. This adrenaline, when it is produced in the human body, because of this, that man attacks, that individual attacks over others. See the wonder. Adrenaline hormone, when it is produced in the human body, at that time, other hormones like testosterone decreases. Means when a person, individual is in anger, during his anger life, the production of testosterone decreases. When one hormone goes up, the other hormone comes down. In the same way, when this particular hormone, adrenaline, is increased, cortisol hormone decreases. See the beauty of the hormonal action. No hormone is working when one hormone is going against that. The beauty of the hormones, its production, its secretions from the ductless glands. The glands, see the several the glands are there. The enzymes, we know that enzymes are produced from the ductful glands. Whereas hormones, they do not have any duct. Any support is not there. Without any support, it is produced. When you see inside the hormonal secretions, hormonal action, we have been wondering and we wonder also. In the future also we wonder. Because how all these are set inside our body. So in this way, the hormones have a role in the anger production. The second one is what happens all of a sudden, surge of energy takes place. Means all of a sudden from the liver, glycogen is divided into glucose. All of a sudden the surge of energy, the surge of impulse, all those things takes place. When these things takes place, see, it is like what modern man is doing. When all of a sudden rains takes place, what happens? The flow of rivers increases. There will be large scale damage to the fields, to the people, to the fauna, to the flora. So all of a sudden that energy increases, damage takes place. In the similar way, when anger also is produced in a much bigger, larger way, that energy is going into in such a manner that it attacks some other one and damages that person, like a flood is doing. In the similar way, what is happening? A modern man have realized that if we control that flood and if we make dams and if we store that water, flood water, the agriculture will be developed. In the similar way, If the same anger in a larger way, when the glycogen stored energy is converted into glucose, if that is useful for the constructive use of development, how the things will be. Apply the same dam culture, apply the irrigation projects. Here, there the flood is there, here the anger energy is there. If that anger energy is tapped for a positive use, for a developmental use, can we develop or not? This way of this different angle is necessary for understanding anger totally. So how we have to solve it, that we can do in our next video.